Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. This is Eric Foster, co founder of the Future Today and Tomorrow Super PAC, to give a message to our pro democracy advocates, elected officials, and individuals who are out there working to preserve our country against this fascist, false law and order regime that we have in Washington, D.C. Well, there's something really, really important that I believe needs to be said too, especially Democratic and independent members of Congress when they're in committee hearings and they have the opportunity to question and spotlight the issues and the crap that we're dealing with out here in these streets. So I was just watching Congressman Pete Aguilar inter- in not interrogate, but question the Secretary of Defense, the wholly unqualified DEI hire of Pete Hegseth, and that's MAGA DEI. And in the questioning, he let Pete lie consistently about everything regarding what's going on in Los Angeles, about Donald Trump's fake authority under Title 10 of the US Code regarding federalizing National Guard and the situation on the ground in Los Angeles. And what is amazing to me is in the back and forth, Representative Aguilar focused on the cost of the deployment, but he never responded to the lies except for a brief period at the end regarding the use of Title 10 and the authorizing language, and the fact that none of the criteria in the authorizing language in Title 10 is met in the conditions of what's going on in LA. But first, let's respond to a few clear truths. One, the anti immigration deportation protest in Los Angeles are basically covering roughly 8 blocks in downtown with about 5 to 6,000 people who've shown up at maximum. About 50 to 100 have been arrested. There's been, I think, 9 cars burned. That's it. And graffiti, whole lot of graffiti. For that, the MAGA regime under Trump has deployed 4,000, well, is deploying because only 300 have gotten on the ground so far, but deploying 4,000 National Guard and 700 Marines under the guise of the city was on fire, the city was burning down, which are all fucking lies. And I'm going to use a little bit of profanity today because Democrats, independents, non MAGA Republicans, y'all got to get a little bit of bass in your voice and start pushing back on this crap. But 8 blocks in a city that's 503 square miles is not a fucking riot. The activity around January 6th and the January 6th MAGA terrorist attack on the US Capitol actually had a bigger footprint than you had with regards to what's happening in Los Angeles, from the ellipse to the Congress to the building where Congress is in, the US Capitol. You had a much larger footprint of activity than you do in Los Angeles. 8 blocks in a 503 square mile city is a tiny infinitesimal amount of activity. So the lie that's being told that the city was burning down, homes are being burned down, not one home has been touched, not one building has been burned. 98% of everything in the city of Los Angeles is still functioning as normal. 8 blocks, a freeway overpass, and an entrance and exit to a freeway is all that has been impacted. But why are the Democrats and the independents and the non-MAGA Republicans, when they have a chance to just say those clear facts against the lies that are being told by Pete, Baghdad Barbie, Caroline Levitt, cosplay police Barbie, Christy Nome, Marco Rubio, Rafael Eduardo Cruz, and others that are lying their asses off, why not respond to the lie immediately? This narrow casting focus of, okay, well, it's happening, but we're not going to respond to the lie. We're going to focus on the cost. We're going to focus on you not doing this against the request of the governor and the African American mayor in Los Angeles. But we're not going to deal with the substance of the lies is a missed opportunity, because what happens, and this is a communications and a marketing narrative that hopefully you all will listen to and understand in campaigning, in sales, in marketing, brand positioning. Don't let somebody else define the reality, because the defining of the reality, even when false, eventually becomes the reality in the minds of a lot of people. So, right now, there is no riot, there is no insurrection, there is no rebellion. There has been at maximum 5,000 people on any given day since these protests started. 9 cars, autonomous vehicle cars, were burned. Shout out to the cars that were burned, unfortunately. The people who've committed those actions have been arrested. And now to those that are protesting, I do want to say this. The efforts to try to create a situation where a National Guard member, a police officer, a county sheriff, or a Marine shoots you is not good, nor is throwing water bottles or rocks or burning a autonomous vehicle car. None of that is good. That shit is not helping anything. Stop it. Because ultimately, you're not going to win that narrative, that battle. It's not going to get anybody out of the detention center. It's not going to stop any of the illegal actions of the Trump regime. So stop. Stop it. Yell, protest, show your signs, wave flags. Oh, and this is another lie I got to get to. So in the hearing, when Drunk Pete, the secretary, was talking and responding to Congressman Aguilar, he tried to use, which something J.D. Vance, if that's his real name, and others have tried to use, that some of the American citizens who are protesting have also flown or used Mexican or flags of countries from Latin America where their ancestral heritage is from. Well, that does not indicate, now the lie is being told that that is somehow indicating it's a foreign invasion. That's bullshit. First off, people do tend to represent their ancestral home country, especially in places where you have a connection by by world football, which we call soccer, and be it if you're English, if you're Irish, if you're Mexican, if you're Brazilian in your heritage and background, if you're French, if you're Spanish, you will tend to have flags and things that represent. So when it comes time for the World Cup and the UEFA Cup and the CONCACAF and other cups and the like, you'll demonstrate and show your support for your ancestral home country. Nothing's ever been wrong with that. So people that are out there with those flags, those are American citizens. Those aren't paid agitators. Those aren't foreign nationals. Those are American citizens who don't agree with the Trump regime and are likely part of either the 75,017,613 Americans who voted for Vice President Harris, the 2,918,109 who voted for third party POTUS candidates, or the 1,398,103 who voted down ballot and skipped the presidential line on the ballot. So they voted for Congress or Senate or other races and they skipped the top of the ticket. That's 79,333,813, which is more than the 77,302,580 who voted for Donald Trump. So another lie that's out here is, well, this is what the majority of Americans wanted. No, when you also add in the over 84 million eligible voters who were either registered and didn't vote or aren't registered but could have been registered to vote, the 79,333,813 who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris, third party candidates, or down ballot and skip the presidential ballot, that's a combined 68% of the eligible citizens who could vote for a president who didn't pick Donald Trump. Only 32% did. Democrats, independents, non MAGA Republicans, the math ain't hard. Just pull out a chart of the presidential election, coupled with pulling out who has been who's registered and the population that's citizen eligible. And you'll easily to document this reality. So, once again, Pete and others, when you're debating this, you need to push back when they say, well, this is what the majority of Americans want. It's never been the majority. MAGA has never been the majority and never will be. But let's go back to the lies. So the continuation of the lie that this was something that had to be done because the city situation was out of control. It was not out of fucking control. That is a lie. 8 blocks, one freeway overpass, one entrance and exit to the 101 freeway. That's it. 9 cars burned. That's it. Now, an actual insurrection was the January 6, 2021 MAGA terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol and the December 20th MAGA terrorist attack in Oregon at the Oregon State Capitol on December 20th, 2020. Those are terrorist attacks. Those are insurrections. What's going on in Los Angeles is a small by the size of the city, which is over 3.4 million people, 5,000 people max versus 3.4 million people, to have National Guard and Marines basically standing in parking lots, not doing anything, but because Trump is hoping that a situation occurs, so they have to shoot somebody. You've got to push back and be able to multitask. So not only just saying about the cost, but responding to the lie. You've got to inhale the lie and exhale the truth. It's like breathing. The narrative that, well, there's too much coming in and I can't respond to everything. Look, y'all like breathing? If you like breathing, you breathe whether you're congested, you breathe whether your nose is stopped up, you breathe whether you got asthma. You just breathe regardless of the conditions, right? If the room is funky, you still breathe. You don't stop breathing because, oh Lord, somebody passed gas and it really stinks, or something is funky up in this room. I'm not going to breathe for the next 20 minutes till I can get to someplace that's a safe space so I can breathe. You breathe because that's just what you got to do. And that's how you have to treat the lies that are coming out of Hegseth and other people's mouths. You've got to respond to the lies. So let's go back to the conversation. So when they got to Title 10 and they talked about the conditions that would involve the president being able to invoke federalizing the National Guard, none of those conditions are met. But when asked, and then Pete Hegseth, drunk Pete, said that, oh, they are being met, Congressman Aguilar needed to have responded back and say that's a lie. That's not true. There is no foreign invasion. Mexico or no other country has declared war on the United States of America. So that's a lie, Pete, drunk Pete. Two, there is no rebellion. The real rebellion has been the MAGA paramilitary arm that has been functioning like the IRA with Sinn Féin from the Northern Ireland Troubles from the 60s through the 80s. That's been an open rebellion, but not what's going on in Los Angeles. And the president is not in a position where he's unable to exercise the regular powers of the office because of 5,000 people on 8 blocks, a freeway overpass, and an entrance and exit to the 101 freeway. That's not stopping him from being able to do his job. So everything that Pete said is a lie, and you've got to respond. So Congressman Aguilar or anybody else that's on a committee, when you're confronted with those lies, you have to respond. And then when you are challenged and says that the regime is standing up for law and order and standing with police, you need to respond with the thousands of police who defended the Capitol from the MAGA terrorist attack and the police who defended the Oregon State Capitol from the December 2020 MAGA terrorist attack. You all haven't stood with them. So you only back the blue if the blue backs the coup. Real catchy. MAGA only backs the blue if the blue backs the MAGA coup or backs the coup. That's what you've got to respond to because that's true, that's facts. Don't be afraid to push back with truth and facts. Make truth simple again. That's another catchphrase you all need to adopt. Make truth simple again and respond to all the lies. But like I say, there is no situation. Not one house has been on fire, not one building is on fire. There's been graffiti. Unfortunately, there's been graffiti on places since people have had paint and spray paint to put graffiti. So there's been an increase of graffiti on buildings. You can wash graffiti off. You don't need 4,700 members of the military to fucking wash graffiti off of a building. And you need to say it like that. You don't need 4,700 members of the United States military for 8 blocks, a freeway overpass, a freeway entrance and exit on the 101. You don't need that in a 503 square mile city. It's not necessary. And traditional media, when you're in the room with Trump, who I refuse to call, even though he has the office of president, I refuse to use the title with his name, and I'm going to stick by that. It's incumbent on you to immediately push back on the lie when he says, well, if we didn't step in, the city was going to be obliterated. That's a lie. 8 blocks, a freeway overpass, and an entrance and exit ramp to the 101 freeway. It's not a 503 square mile city being obliterated. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were obliterated by the atomic bomb at the end of World War II. That's a city being obliterated. When they lie about Minnesota and Portland from 2020, Portland is still standing. Portland was still standing even when things were going on with those protests. Same with Minnesota. The protests in Minnesota were basically within a 2 square mile area. The rest of Minnesota was okay. And I mean, Minneapolis. I'm sorry, Minneapolis. St. Paul didn't even get touched with any of that. And then in Portland, same thing. You got maybe like about a 3 or 4 square mile area. Seattle, you maybe had a 3 square mile area. But overall, the rest of the city, the majority of the city, most of the land mass and population density was not affected. That's easy to respond to. You can show maps, do Google Earth maps of what was going on in 2020 and what's going on right now, and show, hey, people, this is what's really happening in Los Angeles. We got drone footage, we got Google Map footage, we've got Apple Map footage, we've got, Hootie Who map footage. There is no city was being obliterated. And it's okay to push back and tell the orange terrorist leader that nothing is happening like that. It's okay to push back and be honest with the facts. It's okay to push back. And then lastly, when they say, like he said today, that if you protest against him, you're going to be met with force. These are American citizens who are standing up, either part of the 84 million who didn't vote in 2024 or the 79,333,813 who voted for Harris, third party, or down ballot and skipped the presidential part of the ballot, who are saying, we don't agree with the policy. And this man is saying that these people, these Americans, hate the country. They're disloyal to America. What he's telling you is if you don't roll with him and support him without question, you're disloyal to the country. Look what he did with his boy Elon when Elon went truth on him and talked about the Epstein files. So I'm saying this being that I'm a 10th generation African American citizen and will likely be on some of their MAGA shit list because I'm speaking out and using my voice to say this is wrong, they're lying, but that's my constitutional right. Saying that they're liars is not a violation of the country. It's not being disloyal. It's not being a traitor. It's just being an American because, damn it, when we're in charge, they say worse shit about us. I'm calling them liars. And part of their movement being a insurrection movement, which we've got documented fact of actions that go along with that. That's just commentary. That's just stating what's true. Now, members of Congress, and some of you all I know personally on the Democratic side, come on. And for the non MAGA Republicans, the few that exist in Congress, Senator Murkowski and Don Bacon and others, speak that real truth. You know, by being able to see, or you should be able to see, that there is no insurrection going on in Los Angeles. Speak that when your MAGA colleagues shit on the 79,333,813 Americans who voted against Trump in 2024, the 19 states, the District of Columbia, and in the swing states, the four swing states who elected Democratic senators in spite of him, and the one that elected a Democratic governor. So that's Michigan, that's Wisconsin, that is Nevada, that's, let's see, that is North Carolina, and that is Arizona. So in those five states, and then in Georgia, you got two Democratic senators. And in Pennsylvania, you've got a Democratic governor, Democratic attorney general, Democratic secretary of state, a Democratic majority Supreme Court. So, in spite of his victory in the seven swing states, Democrats are represented either at the majority or a significant portion of the statewide elected officials. Stand up for the rest of us. Say that that's not cool. Say that it's not okay to demonize the Americans who don't support Donald Trump. It is perfectly okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing treasonous about doing that. And you all are okay. Do it because there's more of us who will stand with you. But for the pro democracy forces, start responding to the lies just like you breathe. Regardless of the conditions, you still breathe in and breathe out. You have to respond to every lie. So, Congressman Aguilar, if you get another chance in the next hearing or any of the members of Congress, including friends of mine, don't let the lies go unchallenged. There is no insurrection. Crime is not rampant. There is no invasion of immigrants. The people that they're rounding up are not dangerous criminals. The day laborers that they picked up at the one business and at the Home Depot, those are people trying to get jobs that there are a lot of people that don't want to take those jobs. So even if you get rid of all of them, there's a whole lot of Americans that will still never take those jobs. So those jobs will go unfilled. It's okay to say these things because these things are true. And it's okay to say that what's going on is turning the military against a Democratic majority voting city where 503,399 Los Angeles citizens voted for the mayor. Over 2.4 million citizens in Los Angeles County voted for VP Harris, and another 500,000 plus voted for third party candidates for president, which is their right to do. But this man is invading their city on a lie based on what's happening on 8 blocks, which now when you see, even today, I was watching the media and watching some of the what's happening, there's probably less than 1,000 people collective in those 8 blocks that are out protesting. You've got more police and media than you do have people protesting. Ain't nobody throwing nothing today. You might get a little graffiti, but damn, what you gonna do? Shoot somebody over graffiti? Come on. So come on, people. Democrats and independents and non-MAGA Republicans in Congress, respond to the lies. Don't let the lies pass. Yes, hit on the facts about the cost and where you're going to spend the money from, but don't let them lies say that the people that they picked up are dangerous criminals or foreign nationals invading the country. All of that are lies, and respond to those lies immediately and forcefully. Don't let them say that 8 blocks, one freeway overpass, and an entrance and exit ramp to the 101 is equivalent to Hiroshima or Nagasaki happening in Los Angeles. Don't let them lie like that. It's real simple communications. Don't let them create the lie because that becomes true in the minds of a lot of people when you don't challenge. So get it together. Doesn't take long to put these talking points together and start responding and building on that like gospel. Just like you get up in the morning, put on your, well, before you put on your clothes, hopefully you go wash up and take a shower, brush your teeth. Then you put on your clothes and just like that. That's how you got to respond. So that's my educational video for today. I hope that this gets through to some people, but it's time. We've got to respond. We cannot let these things go. We cannot let these lies be perpetrated. Once again, 8 blocks, one freeway overpass, and an entrance and exit ramp to the 101 freeway is not a city out of control and on fire. It just isn't. No homes have been damaged, no buildings are burning. Those are facts. Have a blessed day, everybody. Uh, Thank you for listening.